So then Year 7 and Year 8, today I'm going to just explain to you a little bit about how you're going to complete your evaluation. You should have made your savoury scones if you've got flour in. Now I've said on the slides that go with the lesson information in the PowerPoint that if you haven't got flour in, it's okay. You are very welcome to help make dinner one night and then you can write your evaluation about what you've made for dinner. So, evaluations then, they are telling you what went well about your dish, what didn't go so well about your dish, what you do differently next time, and then some feedback from yourself and other people. Now the evaluation you're going to do is going to be an assessed piece of work. That means that I will give it a flight path for you, depending on how much detail you give, depending on how many points you make, depending on what you tell me. So I'm going to talk you through the different sections of a time plan, which hopefully will help you and to enable you to get the very best flight path that you're able. So then, first topic is the WWWs. WWW in this instance stands for what went well. We do amazingly when we cook, and I want you to tell me all the amazing things that you've done when you made your dish. It might be that you're going to consider the practical itself, the actual making of your dish. And you're going to tell me 3 or 4 of the things that went really well there. It might be that you're going to tell me whether your timings were good or not. It might be that you can tell me about the actual dish. Did the actual dish come out right? So for example with scones, were they well risen and golden? Did they taste delicious? And the last thing you could tell me about is your washing up, your hygiene. So how well did you do your washing up afterwards? So just to give you a little example of what would be a not very good evaluation, with your what went wells, a not very good evaluation, so a lower flight path would be things like, I did good, or the dish was great. That doesn't tell me anything. However, if I describe some scones here for you, I might say, I worked quickly and this meant that I was able to finish in a good amount of time. I did the rubbing in method well with the scones and checked that I had breadcrumbs before I carried on. Or it might be that you say, I washed up thoroughly in hot soapy water. I dried up and then I put the equipment away. So the more detail you give, the more you expand your points that you make, the higher your flight path will be. Next section then that I'd like to talk to you about is the EBI. EBI stands for even better if. Now we all love to think that what we do is amazing, and it is amazing, don't hear me wrong, but there's always things we could do differently. So for example, if you watched my how to make a time plan where I demonstrated to you my savoury scones, my even better if would be, actually, when I'd grated my cheese, I should have saved some back so that I could sprinkle it on top of my scones because I forgot. Another EBI for me might be, do you know what, my cheese was very nice, but next time, I don't know if I'd like to do something a bit different and have some different flavourings in there. So, your EBI, a lower flight path for an EBI would be saying, I was amazing, there was no EBIs. Okay, however, for a higher flight path, it's something you might say might be, like I just said, with my scones, I wish that I'd saved some of the cheese to go on top of the scones before they went into the oven because that would improve the appearance. Now that brings us on to the improvements. What would you do differently and why? So you're going to tell me about some of those weaknesses perhaps, what went wrong with them, what you'd do differently, what you'd change and how that would change your final dish. So for example, with some scones then, I would change my flavourings because although the cheese was nice, I might prefer it to be a bit more spicy. Therefore, next time, as well as the cheese, I might add in some mixed herbs and some chopped tomato. I mean cut tomato, not chopped tomatoes from a tin. Because this might make my dish more appetising and more flavoursome or more spicy. Now you can choose your WWWs, your EBIs and your improvements, and you can talk about any of the practical itself, making the dish. You can talk about the Timings, you could talk about your washing up, and you can talk about the dish itself. A really good evaluation will talk about all 4 of those aspects in their strengths, their weaknesses, or EBIs, and their improvements. Now the final column that I'm asking you to write about is feedback and sensory words. You know how to use sensory words now, and you can go back and look at your sensory words for stuffed peppers, and you can remind yourself what they are, and then I want you to describe your dish using sensory words. Now obviously if you've made scones, that will be very different to the peppers you described. That's okay, but I want you to describe your scones using sensory words. So it might be that they were cheesy. It might be that they had a delicate texture that was aerated. Those are describing your dish using sensory words. Then the next little bit within that section is to give me some feedback. So when your scones or your dish is cool enough, you're going to try a piece of it, and then you're going to tell me what you thought about it. Was it delicious? Was it aromatic? Was it flavoursome? You're going to tell me what you felt about that dish. Final piece of your evaluation then is feedback from other people. So you can then, as well as your feedback, you can ask some members of your family that have tried the dish that you're writing about. You can ask them to give you their feedback, and you can write that in your evaluation. Now, as I said to you, you're going to talk to me about how the actual dish went when you were making it, how the dish actually tasted. You can tell me about your timings, you can tell me about your hygiene, you can tell me even about your safety, perhaps when you're using the oven. But I want you to give me as much detail as possible. The more you write about, the more you explain your sentences, the higher the flight path that I'm able to give you, because you're thinking more critically. Like I say, complete sentences, as much detail as possible. I've seen already some amazing scone time plans, so I can't wait to see how detailed your evaluations are going to be. All the very best, and I'll speak soon. Thank you.